you see a landscape that looks as though it reminded me of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Devastation, buildings reduced to rubble for miles around, as far as you can see. Nothing growing, no people, a few looters here and there, but nothing. You have this constant whine, which is very psychologically very affecting because it represents danger and it's constantly there. And the other sound that you hear are bombs, which were going off every hour or two throughout the month that I was there. And we spent the whole month in the hospital. We deemed it not safe to travel. What I think I found particularly disturbing was that a bomb would drop maybe on a crowded, tented area, and then the drones would come down and...
Please take your time. We're incredibly grateful that you're making the time to be here today, and I can only imagine just how it has impacted you and will continue to impact you. And I feel, because you can't unsee what you've seen, but being able to share that with us really helps us hold legislators particularly to account.
So the drones would come down and pick off civilians, children, and we had description after description. This is not, an occasional thing. This was day after day after day, operating on children who would say, I was lying on the ground after a bomb had dropped, and this quadcopter came down and hovered over me and shot me. And that's clearly a deliberate act, and it was a persistent act, persistent targeting of civilians day after day. We had 1 or 2 mass casualty incidents every day.
You say children. I wonder if you could tell us sort of the ages of the children. And you say that they said that they were lying on the ground from a bomb shock. Do you believe them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, a 7-year-old's not going to make up a story. From the majority of the children who were casualties were young children, but we had casualties in their teens, we had women in their 30s, and it was a very consistent story. And the story would be given as soon as they came into the emergency department. So I have absolutely no reason to doubt this. And the bullets that the drones fire are these small cuboid pellets. And I fished a number of those out of the abdomen of small children. I've worked in a number of conflict zones in different parts of the world. I was there at the time of the Rwandan genocide. I've never seen anything on this scale, ever, and that was also the view of all the experienced colleagues that I worked with. One of the surgeons in my team had been to Ukraine 5 times and said, this is 10 times worse. I did amputations on people who just had to take paracetamol after the operation as pain relief. That medical aid was sitting at the border and not being allowed in. We were not allowed to take any medical equipment except for personal use. So I was asked, could I bring thyroid medication for some people? Couldn't take it in. That's a deliberate policy. And that's changed because I know that teams earlier in the year had been able to take some medical equipment in. So again, that seems to me to be a deliberate restriction of medical supplies. There's been a letter from 32 doctors and nurses from the UK who wrote to the Prime Minister back in September. They'd all worked in Gaza, some of them overlapped with me, and 99 in the US who wrote to Biden in October, saying exactly the same things. This is not a surprise. This is something that senior politicians, I'm sure, are well aware of.